Fujifilm may shock us all. A recent patent spotted by Fuji Rumors in June tells us that Fujifilm patented a 40mm f2 full-frame lens. And now with Sony RX1R III and the madness with small little fixed lens cameras like Fujifilm GFX100 RF and also like Leica QC and Leica QC40C, is it possible to get finally a full-frame fixed lens camera from Fujifilm? So let's talk about this now. Hi there, Tudor Matescu here. In this video, I want to share with you my ideas regarding the full-frame lens patented by Fujifilm, the 40mm f2 Fujifilm lens. This patent was observed by the Fujifilm Rumors in June and no one is talking about it. And finally, I want to address this patent. What Fujifilm is thinking to make with a full-frame 40mm f2 lens? Why they've patented a full-frame lens? Against all the Fujifilm fanboys that are saying, no, it is sufficient to have just an APS-C Fujifilm camera or a GFX medium format camera. Well, it seems Fujifilm doesn't think so because they've patented a 40mm f2 full-frame lens. And now we have on the market, how I've said, the Sony RX1R III, a 61 megapixels full-frame lens relaunched by the Sony, and also we have the Leica Q3, Leica Q340C, and also GFX 100 RF. So it seems that there is market for these products, for these cameras. So people are buying these premium fixed lens cameras. And from my point of view, full frame, it is the sweetest spot. And finally, it seems that Fujifilm really understood this, because probably building GFX 100 RF, they were able to see that no, they will not be able to bring in the future a very interesting compact medium format camera. And when I'm saying interesting, I'm referring to an aperture that will give you some shallow depth of field. So again, let's be serious. People that are wanting this kind of cameras, they want to use these cameras for portraits and they want that DOF. They want that depth of field. So why not offer them? This is why people are buying Leica Q340C and Leica Q3 28mm lenses. This is why people are using full frame cameras. They like that 3D pop. They like that depth of field when it comes to portraits. And yes, it's a huge deal to have that tool in your arsenal when you want to take a portrait or when you want to isolate a subject or a product from the background, and when you can't choose the lighting or you can't choose the background. So why not have this tool on you in a small portable package? Now, the question that is to be asked here, why Fujifilm chose the 40mm focal lens? Why they didn't choose the 35mm equivalent focal lens on full frame? Of course, 35mm. Why they didn't choose the 28mm focal lens? Well, we are coming to understand why Fujifilm chose the 40mm field of view. First, they have on APS-C a great small compact 35mm equivalent camera that is offering similar field of view as the GFX 100 RF from some test. But anyway, it's important, they already have the fixed lens 35mm camera. They already have this camera and it's a great camera. It's one of the best cameras from Fujifilm. The best, really one of the best made cameras from Fujifilm. Next, they have GFX 100 RF. Why should they choose on a full frame a 28mm lens or a 35mm lens when they already have these two cameras? So they have Fujifilm X106 for the 35mm field of view with a good lens for a fixed lens camera with a decent price when we are looking at the competitors. And I will also compare a little this X106 to RX1R III and see if Fujifilm can improve or not a camera like this. But also they have the 28mm field of view with GFX 100 RF. So of course there is no need for a full frame 28mm field of view or for a full frame 35mm field of view camera. And this takes me to the next idea. Why I'm saying it's possible that Fujifilm will launch a 40mm fixed lens camera. Because as other users and experts in the Fujifilm system said, if they will launch a full frame camera with interchangeable lenses, they will cannibalize their APS-C lineup and also their GFX lineup. So this is why they don't release a full frame camera in this market, because they can't compete with Sony, they can't compete with Nikon, and more than that, they will ruin their APS-C lineup and their GFX lineup. So it has much sense that they can release a fixed lens camera, a 40mm fixed lens camera with f2 that can compete with Leica Q343, with Leica Q28mm, with Sony RX1R III, and with other fixed lens cameras, or with other interchangeable full frame cameras with a 40mm field of view, like Nikon ZF with 40mm f2. By the way, if you want to make better photos, you must know that it's not about the gear, it's about composition, it's about light, it's about seeing with your eyes and pre-visualizing the picture. So for this, I've recently launched a course with my techniques to get better pictures. So if you want to learn to make better pictures, and especially composition, why not join my Photography Academy? To get access to my course, you must be subscribed to my channel and join my membership Photography Academy level. When you'll have that level, you'll have access to my street photography composition course, where I show you how I am making the pictures and where I teach you how to make the same picture. So I'm telling you why a picture is good and why it's working, and why I've decided to keep it in color or to keep it in black. So you learn lots of tips and techniques if you are joining the membership program. And more than that, joining my membership, it means that any premium course that I will launch, you'll have access to it. So join now my TM Photography Academy by subscribing to my channel and hit the join button from YouTube. So just think, if Fujifilm will take the 40mm full frame camera, put it on a full frame body that will look like X-T50 or like X106 and GFX 100 RF, why not? And they will launch that camera, a full frame browser to GFX 100 RF and to X106, the perfect trio from my point of view. And more than that, regarding market competition, the perfect trio and camera options when it comes to Leica Q343, to Leica Q28mm and to Sony RX1R III. And why? Because you have the advantages here of a small camera with IBIS, with a great lens on GFX 100 RF. You have the advantage of a big camera with extraordinary resolution of a medium format camera with all those tidbits, plus adding the design. So the missing piece in this equation, of course, it's a 40mm equivalent camera for people that are loving that field of view. So this is why I think that the full frame 40mm f2 lens, it is designed to be used for a fixed 40mm full frame Fujifilm camera as a competitor to Leica Q343 and Sony RX1R III. And now let's address a little Sony RX1R III to X106, and why not to this 40mm f2 lens from Fujifilm. How it will stack up? Well, let's be serious. RX1R III, it's really great, but as the reviewers showed, it's a small camera with great tech in it, but nothing special. Nothing regarding the experience of shooting, like you have an experience in shooting X106, like you have an experience in shooting a Leica Q2 monochrome, like you have an experience in shooting a Leica M, and even a Leica Q3, because that Leica Q3 has an outstanding lens. So from my point of view, Fujifilm X106, even if it's not a full frame camera, it's staying very well against RX1R III. Why? Because that Zeiss lens, it's not that it's old, it doesn't have the pop that Leica Q3 has, and also that pop, it is really close to the X106 lens. So it's not a special lens, it's not a bad lens, don't get me wrong, but it's not a special lens. They've made some compromises regarding that lens. I'm looking at that lens and also at my Sony Zeiss 35mm f2.8, and I'm not able to see much differences regarding rendering and depth of field. I would say that I like even more my Zeiss 35mm f2.8 against that RX1R lens. So overall, with the Sony RX1R III lens, you don't win much. You really don't win much, and you lose the chance to use the Fujifilm colors, you lose the chance to use IBIS, and also the reviewers told very clear that if you use the electronical shutter, even with a static subject, you'll have wobbling in your pictures. So what is this, Sony? What is this? Of course, this is happening because it's a big full frame sensor, and how I've said in my initial review, this will happen. And yes, a big problem when you have a big sensor with lots of megapixels and no IBIS. So the 40mm f2 full frame patenting lens from Fujifilm is the chance for Fujifilm to make a camera that will rock the world from my point of view, because finally it is possible, again possible, it's a rumor, it's a speculation, to have a full frame Fujifilm fixed lens camera with Fujifilm colors and with the Fujifilm mojo and with the Fujifilm magic in it. Why not have those on the f2 Fujifilm lens? The only downside, of course, for me, it's that it's a fixed lens full frame camera. And 40mm, even if I like that field of view a lot, is not an ideal everyday carry camera. It's not. You really need a wide lens to have an everyday carry camera. At least a 35mm lens, how you have on Sony RX1R III, or a 28mm lens. So this why on the other side, probably the APS-C lineup from the Ricoh cameras, it is more attractive, like Ricoh GR 28mm field of view and like the Ricoh GR 40mm field of view. But they have build quality issues. So those cameras are very, very sensible. And this is why I'm getting back again to my everyday camera, to my Fujifilm X106 or other micro four thirds cameras or other options anyway. But this is where the tricky part is with the 40mm f2 from Fujifilm. If they will launch that camera, I think it will be a great camera and I'm sure that I will like it a lot. My dream come true, a full frame Fujifilm camera, but on the other side, I already thinking at those limitations. So 40mm field of view, not 35mm field of view, a great documentary camera, but it can't be an only camera. So my ideal full frame camera from Fujifilm fixed body and lens, it will be a 35 f2 from Fujifilm. And unfortunately, it seems that we don't have any chance that they will launch such a camera. So in conclusion, I do hope that Fujifilm will make this step. Of course, I think the price it will be as RX1R III and as other premium cameras. But anyway, it is good to know that we can have this option, finally a full frame camera. But this is all speculation. So please tell me what you think about this patent. Also subscribe to my channel, give it a like to this video, share my videos, and please be sure to check the next videos. This is helping the channel to grow a lot and is free. Thank you, and I will talk to you soon. Bye bye.